I've seen a lot of videos lately all about getting out and getting the shot, and that is really, really important. Absolutely, you should, because if you don't get out, that winning shot you never saw, so you never took. But there's more to the story than just getting out and getting the shot, and I wanted to talk to you about why it's so important to get out. There's a whole lot more to the story, so stick around while I get out and get the shot. It's not just a classic shot, it's also a wonderful exercise in photography. It's one thing to get out with the camera and just take lots of photos and, keep your head in the game. But I like to take these opportunities to learn something new, to try out some different techniques. Looking straight down a bridge where you can see every single span as it disappears off into the distance with this magnificent perspective. It's not just about getting here, having the right lens and shooting. You've also got to think about how you want that to be shown when you print it out, for example, or put it up on social media. And there are a number of ways we can compose this. What I actually wanted to do was not have the perspective pushing up. And you can see in here, it actually starts wide at the bottom and then narrows as it gets to the top. And that's a really great angle, and I do really like it. But what I'm after is the straight lines. And to do that, I really need to work in post. Look at changing the keystone when I get it back into the studio. Now, if I were to take this photo as it is, it would look really cool this way, but once I apply that keystone, I'm actually going to lose some information, because what it does is it pushes out the top and pulls in the bottom. It needs to crop it so that it still has the correct ratio. So when I take that photograph, I need to allow for that. So what I'm going to need to do is zoom out just a little bit, well, probably quite a lot actually. So I'm probably around 20 millimeters now, 20 to 25. It just gives that little bit of breathing room for the keystone adjustments. Now, I'm not going to show you all my process, because if you're watching this channel, then you know enough about photography to know to set the depth of field enough so that you can see all the way down the other end. So I'm sitting at f/16. I'm focused on the front pylon. I could probably focus on the next one down for that hyperfocal, but I don't really want to take any chances. If I really want that focus all the way through, then I might do 2 shots at different focus to combine them later. But for the moment, I'm just going to take this shot. I'll make sure it's lined up. And in fact, because I've widened that out, I've got a lot more space down below, so I can angle that up even further. The second span along is slightly narrower than the gap of the first span, so you get these 2 lines of light, and that's enough to make sure that you're dead center. So f/16, 1/50th of a second at ISO 100, that should do it. And when I came down to set up, and I didn't even get to bring my camera gear down to this spot. I saw some sailing boats coming through. So I quickly grabbed the camera, put the wide angle on, ran down here, got a few shots out. The boats make the difference between a good shot and a great shot. And then after that, I had a ferry going through, and up above the ferry, up near the mountain, was this rainbow in the cloud. You'll see over behind me, hopefully, there's the ferry. I'm going to get that as it comes through. These are the opportunities that you need to take. This is the point of getting out and getting the shot. This, what I've been doing, is about getting out and getting the practice. And I believe that you need to do both of those things. One of the reasons I say get out and get some practice is because sometimes things happen so fast that you have to organise yourself without really thinking too hard. This very thing happened to me just a few minutes ago as I was looking around for a new composition. Luckily I had my camera in hand. I'll show you the picture. Look, it's not great, but a seaplane came flying right over the top of me, right above the bridge. Because it was so fast, I just had to grab the camera and shoot, and I still had it on about 1/60th of a second, which meant that the aeroplane was blurred. This is why you need to get out and practice and think fast, do all of those sort of things. Anyway, I think I've got a spot. I'm just going to set up and I'll talk to you in a moment. So big, and even at 15mm I can't capture the whole bridge, which kind of stands to reason because I'm really close to it. I'm practically underneath it, but you don't need the entire bridge. That's the thing. What I'm excited about here is you've got all these mussels all over the rocks with some bright green seaweed. And that really offsets the dull sky and the grey concrete of the bridge. So you can see just how distorted the image becomes at 15mm, because I've got from that span over here all the way across to the other end of the bridge. Because we don't need the entire bridge, but we do want that line cutting through the image. Now, I'm just going handheld here. There's no reason... oh, hang on, there's a boat coming. Unexpected events, got to be ready. And that was 1/25th of a second. Thankfully, the boat was moving slow enough, but it's only f13 and I was focused at the front here, so it is slightly out of focus there, but I don't think that matters too much because in the entire photo, like out of this big, it's probably about this big. All right, I'm going to get you closer. Oh, got to get down low for this one. The problem with my super wide angle is that I can't put filters on it. So what I've done is I've changed my lens for the 50mm so that I can get filters on it. Let's quickly take this shot, even though it's not level. Very busy river, this one. Well, I had that shot lined up beautifully, and thanks to the boat, of which I think I got a good shot, pushed up this nice wake, and then another boat, a bigger boat, came through on this side and doubled the wake. And so this whole area just got flooded and I really had to scramble to save my gear. This is my composition after being almost flooded out and dealing with equipment failures, etc. I've got my filter on. At the moment, I've just got the polarizer on and I'm looking at accentuating the reflections because the water's very ripply. I think that'll really work well. And then my next shot will be with a longer exposure so I can smooth all of that out. And again, this is all about practice so that when I need it, I can do the work quickly and get the shot that I need. And this may be an opportunity because there is a nice boat coming through. So let's get this set up. And I'm just going to push that out to f20. That is 1/15th of a second, which is a bit of an issue. So I'm going to push the ISO up. Now, it's not something I normally do, but I need a quick photo because if this boat comes through, I don't want it blurred like that aeroplane. Oh, I'd really love to sit down on something. Maybe this will do. getting just a little bit uncomfortable. I've got it up ISO 1000, f20, so I can get that depth of field, and that's giving me a speed of, wait for it, 1/320th of a second, which is good. Like 1/320th I generally use when I'm photographing people, so it should be able to handle the boat movement. Anyway, with those settings in mind, here's the photo. Using the exact same composition, I'm now going to put in a 10-stop filter, and that should hopefully slow everything right down. Now, because I'm not worried about speed at all, obviously a long exposure, I can pop my ISO back down to 100, and I can still have my f-stop out at, I still do 20. There's actually quite a large depth of field, so I can now focus on one of the platforms out there. And another 20 seconds. Now on 30 seconds, this light just keeps changing. Once again, good practice. It doesn't have to be a perfect shot. If I get home and this hasn't really worked, I can't get broken up about it. And regardless of whether it's a good or bad shot, I'm going to show you what the result is, because it's all part of my learning process, and an extension is part of your learning process. But I actually think these are going to come out really nicely. So anyway, without further ado, here are the shots. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what your reasons are for getting out. The important thing is to get out. But how you use that time is also important. And I like to think that every opportunity is a learning opportunity, because things happen that you don't expect. I guess what I'm trying to say is use every opportunity you have. Take that hour or so out of your day to go to somewhere familiar. Try something different. Thank you once again for coming along, and I will see you on the next one.